you're required to use the new reduced selling price. If the lease term doesn't qualify because it's open-ended, or the vehicle is not first division or one of the qualifying second division vehicles, you would then have to use the actual selling price. But it's not optional.
Yes.
The adjustment that we have now, will any of this apply to courtesy deliveries that we do for lease terminals?
So explain it, we were talking about this
If I
briefly
work
yesterday.
for Johnson okay, let's say, I'm with my dealership. Johnson & Johnson contacts me that their lessee, which is a member of their company, has a company car that needs to be turned in which case my courtesy delivery becomes, I trade out their new lease for their turn-in lease. Do I need to fill out any of these forms for?
So are you engaging in a new lease transaction?
Well, we're the pass-through.
So who's actually entering the lease contract? What dealership is doing that?
Oh, I'm with Offenburg.
But I mean, you would be actually entering into the new lease with the
No.
lessee?
Courtesy delivery is when we're taking a vehicle for Johnson & Johnson from one of their company employees. They turn it into us,
Okay.
and then we give them their new vehicle. We deliver it.
Yeah,
But you
But
didn't
you're not
actually
doing
enter
the
the lease, you
paperwork.
just support
Well,
somebody
they're
else.
paying us.
They buy it from you for resale probably. They sell to the leasing company.
They
but then the
paid
leasing
us
company
by
comes-
draft to submit their sales tax for it.
Oh, so you do
Yes.
currently pay the sales tax on those
For
transactions?
them, yes.
So you're a remitter for those folks,
Just for that,
just
yeah.
for that.
Just for the one company at a time.
Yeah, that doesn't, I mean, I mean, maybe we should talk after,
Yeah,
but
probably
it
so.
sounds like there are a number of factors we have to nail down to see
Okay.
exactly what the
I have to make
transaction
sure.
is. It's a good question. No, I don't know the answer.
It's okay.
We will be here for, at the end of this, so if you think of something between now and then, you can come up and ask. Anybody else?
Come up real quick now and talk about how it flows through their process and some of the new stuff they've got coming up.
Hi, my name is Julie Cabrera. I'm an account executive with CVR. I also have with me Joanne Sekis and Christine Bennett. Sorry. And they will be presenting with me today. A couple of other important people in our organization is our Director of Operations, Matt Boyle. He is not here today, and so is Rudy Gomez. He is also a virtual AE, and what that means is he's able to do all your installs and trainings over the PC and phone. We actually do have Penny Dotson here today with us. She is also a virtual AE. Probably some of your guys' AE for yourselves. Penny is celebrating her 8th anniversary with CVR today. Yay, Penny! So she's super knowledgeable. If you guys ever need anything, you can call it. We're going to go over the new release from CVR, the 4.3B, that is going to handle the lease tax changes. We're also going to talk about our support team and what we have available for you guys. And we're going to talk about MDS. Okay, 4.3B. We are scheduled to come out with the new release the end of December. That should handle all the new tax issues. What it's going to do, it's going to be very similar on how you guys do it today, where it shows that selling price, but now it's probably going to say taxable amount. And then it's going to do the calculation and print off the new tax forms. All the new forms should be out there, even the ST556 for purchase. How do we get that taxable amount out there? A couple of ways. Either you're calculating that amount and you're entering it, and then our system will do the 6.25% or whatever the tax rate is. Or it's pulling over from your DMS. Issue with the DMS. Things you have to think about is your DMS ready for the new tax calculation? From my experience, they're not going to call you and say, hey, I know there's a new lease calculation. What do you guys need? Let me put it in your system. So I would contact your DMS, tell them you need the new lease calculation set up for Illinois, contact your leasing companies, make sure you're getting those new contracts that have changed so that your DMS companies can program them. Then what we'll be able to do is when they get that calculation, we'll be able to pull that information over, just like we do the customer names, addresses, that type of information. The vehicle will be pulling over that taxable amount. The first couple of weeks, double, triple check that that information is coming over correctly. The other thing what's going to happen is it's going to look at the delivery date. So any deals that you do at the end of December, if you pull them over to CVR, let's say January 1st, it is going to look at that delivery date and calculate it accordingly. So if it's December 31st, it's going to calculate the old way. Anything with the delivery date January 1st and after will calculate the new way. Is there any questions about the lease tax change on CVR? Sure.
At the very end of the, or at the very beginning of the year, if it is if you've got a December 31st, is it going to automatically, it's just going to calculate what we actually put in the system?
It's going to calculate your taxable amount.
Okay, very good.
So that's where you guys are always responsible, make sure that
Okay.
that's the correct amount. Just make sure that that's pulling over correctly. So if your DMS is not ready with that calculation and it's not coming over,
Right.
you can override it.
We will be able to?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make sure. Let me talk to Sanjay when we get He's doing our programming. The other exciting things we have going on with ST 556 import. Now, we were talking about this earlier, reciprocal, non-reciprocal, doing dealer trades wholesale. Illinois wants a tax form, either a zero tax form, or if it's Indiana, they want a non-reciprocal with a dollar amount. You're able to do it through CVR. If you do it today through CVR, unfortunately, you're entering in the customer information, you're entering all the buyers. With the new ST 556 import, we will able to pull that information over for your DMS. Now, if you import anything now, it is going to make it a title, registration, tax transaction. With the new release, you're going to be able to choose if you want it to be an ST 556 only, or you want to be a tax, registration, and title transaction. You are also able to set up a template. So if you're always selling to the same dealer, the dealer trade, or you're selling to an auction house, you can put their tax exempt ID in there, so you're not having to enter it every single time. Any questions about that? Good question. It should be coming out for general release the end of December, but we are looking for pilot clients in the middle of December for us to load the software and test it out. If you guys are interested, please let us know after the meeting. We'd love to have you. And Joey and I are fighting over how many clients we can do. Okay. Plate renewal change. Now, the system will ask you, you'll always see on your tag sticker the plate renewal if you're within the 90 days. That's still going to be out there. If you renew your plates, you do it by VIN now or barcode. With the new release, you're able to do with the RRN and the PIN. If you use the VIN, then it will not let you put the RRN PIN in. If you put the RRN and the PIN, it will not let you put the VIN, so it'll block that out. It wants one or the other. If it's within the 90 days, it will give you a message that you should renew it. But it lets you bypass it now. Oh, that's okay. So it's going to, on the RRN values, it wants 8 digits. If you don't have 8, it's going to autofill with zeros, leading zeros. and the same with the PIN. If the expiration date is today or it was yesterday, it is going to want you to renew that plate. So it's going to enable that renew registration button. And right now you guys, you'll see it, you just bypass it, and sometimes that becomes a problem that they don't renew those plates. Because by the time it comes into the title clerk, they're expired. So now this will help you guys out. We also are adding the trailer TPR function. So you're able to do transactions for trailers, for the ones listed, and then you'll have to assign them a TPR, or TRP, sorry guys. Not as of yet. We can ask the Secretary of State and to let us start issuing these things. How are we going to get the new software downloaded to you guys? In the end of December, when it comes out, it will come out on what we call FlexNet. So you're going to log in to CVR. You're going to get a message that there's new software. And you're going to say, yes, I want to load it. Make sure you get out of CVR so it can load. If you have to have admin rights to load software on your PCs, you're going to have to either sign in as the admin or get your IT people involved and have them load the software for you. If the FlexNet is not working or your IT people just want to keep going to each PC to be loading the software, they can go into CVR, they can click on help, they can click onto the support. It will come up with download option, and you will see the 4.3 on the download option. Start running it, get out of CVR, and it should load. So the 4.3B is what we have coming out now, but CVR is always looking to the future and the next step. And what we really are working towards is the web rewrite. With the web rewrite, that is not available yet, but it's going to be our next mission to get completed, you'll be able to do web-based PCs, which means you can go to any PC, log on to CVR, and do your transaction. You're no longer having to flow the PC and only have that one title clerk station to the PC. No software updates are needed. It'll all be done manually. We're going to work on e-forms. So you'll have the release of interest printing from CVR. You'll have odometer statements, power of attorneys. They'll be able to be produced. And we're going to have the ability to customize your screens. Any questions on any of the 4.3B?
Is there going to be any changes to the VIN decoding for vehicles in there? Seems like it's about a year and a half behind.
So, we are always, you doing the polk updates when you see those?
No.
When I said go to help, go to support, and look at the downloads, you'll also see something say the polk update. That will update all those VINs, makes and models, and it does come out, I think we've had a couple this year come out, right? So look at that, run it, you should get the updated information. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, now we're going to talk about our great support team.
Hi there, I'm going to go over today a little bit about support and let you know kind of some of the things that we as account executives can help you with, as well as our support team that you call into on our 800 number. We as account executives have the ability to remote in on any of your PCs and help you with any issues that you have, as well as downloading software, and then it's also training new users. So if you hire someone new and you need them trained right away, and then say we couldn't get there for a couple days, we could do it remotely through your PC and by phone, so it'll be done quicker for you. resets, support tells us has been a huge amount of our calls into the support center. So today we want to give you a little bit of a tip on how you can update your password or reset your password on your own. When you originally set up your CVR password, you would have created a PIN number, would have been 3 to 8 character PIN. Most of the time you would have probably made it the last of your social or a birthday, something like that that you could remember. And if you have that PIN number, what happens is once you put in your password too many times, you put in your PIN number and then it will prompt you to create a new password. So that way you don't have to take the time to call in and you can get it done a little quicker for you. We also have several cheat sheets available to everyone that you can get access to on our support website. So if there's ever something you don't remember, such as reprinting, how to reprint a SD556 or a registration certificate, you just go into your CVR, click on help, and then click on support, and then it will take you to this website. Down your left-hand side of the screen, you have all the options that you can click on, which are, for example, we have user account instructions that'll help you with logins and your password maintenance. And once you click into these, there'll be a download button. You just click download, and then it will pop up the sheet that will give you step-by-step instructions. You can also learn how to start a new deal, importing deals, title transactions. These are really good for new users. How to avoid a deal, do inquiries, covering your deals. And then, of course, like I said, reprinting paperwork, how to do bundling, and then managing your plates and your registration certificates. And we wanted to give you some faces with the names that you speak to at our 800 number.
What are you laughing at?
Oh, like, hey, it's Juan.
Yeah.
See, isn't it great? You guys can
Yeah, you guys are like, hey. So we have Christina, Jose, Tony, JR, Raphael, and Juan that are all there to help you with anything you need. So always call them. They're there to help you. And then if there's something that maybe you didn't get handled through them and you don't feel was complete to your satisfaction, please call us and we will help you in any way we can. We're there to help you guys to be able to get your deals processed quickly. CVRs, their operations are Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. And then they're Saturday 8 to 4 with limited staffing. And then you can also contact them, their email, and then of course the phone number, and then of course on our support website.
I have a question. How many have been on our support site? I shouldn't ask. It's out there. The first time you guys log on, it's going to ask you for your client number, and then it's going to ask you for your CVR user and your password. After the first time, next time you go in, it'll just top it up for you. But it's a great, we should have this presentation on there. Next week is just a great thing to have access to. Especially if you get new title clerks, F&I people, download those cheat sheets. It's really extremely helpful.
Okay, then Joanne's going to talk about NDAs.
So mine's the easy part. There's nothing here new. I'm just here to remind you of things you can use. So NVIDIS is, okay, the National Motor Vehicle Title Information System. Now, right now you can run from ADP the inquiry, and NVIDIS will help you with all your out-of-state vehicles, plus Illinois vehicles. There are over 1 billion records in NVIDIS right now. So right now, if it's not from Illinois, a lot of times you're stuck. You don't know where it is. Maybe they lost their title. This will bring it up for every state. Okay. All right. So with NVIDIS, it will help you know the branding and know if it's a salvage vehicle, a junk vehicle, if it was titled in 5 different states. If you take the extra time to run this, I mean, if you find out somebody doesn't have their vehicle and you're ready to appraise the car, it's going to make a big difference if you saw it was a salvage car. So taking the time to run this can sometimes save you money. Okay. And Venus came out really to help stop some fraud. There were people that would do title jumping or washing of titles, and some states aren't as strict as others. The law requires Venus, wait, let me try that again. The law requires that they report to NVIDIS the motor vehicle of almost every state, the insurance companies, your salvage yards, they all have to, once a month, give all their information. You know, one example, and we were just talking about this the other day, is a friend of mine had an expensive vehicle that had large damage on it, and they ran a Carfax on it, and that was not on there. But on the NVIDIS, it was on there because they're required to send it. Now, I'm not saying don't run Carfax. Carfax is really kind of for the consumer, where NVIDIS is more for the dealer. NVIDIS looks just like your regular inquiry screen. You just put the VIN number in there. So you can put all your used vehicles in here, and maybe before you go to your used car manager can use it before he goes to the auction and put the VIN number in there. And this is what a report would look like. So to have all your different titles under all the different states. It doesn't, somebody asked if it has lien information. It does not have lien information. But on the bottom of the report, it will give all the links to the different states that the car went through. So, in Venus right now, you can get to it through CVR. You can go right to our website, or also we were talking about help and then support. And right now you can get to NVIDIS that way also. You go up to help, support, and on the left side, you'll see a link for NVIDIS. With the new software that's coming out, you'll be able to run it right from your inquiry screen. So if anybody wants to pilot the new software, you can try this right away. And on there, as you run your inquiry, you can force it to run in NVIDIS also. When you want to sign up for NVIDIS, it's free to sign up, and then there's just a fee for it, just like when you run an inquiry. I believe it's like $2 for every NVIDIS you run. Now, it gets paid through CVR, and then we pay the bill to NVIDIS. So you would see it right on your statement with your regular inquiry. The first time you run one, it's just saying, are you agreeing to pay for this? Or, you know, all those little print like anything else you click on. So you click on there once, that's the whole registration of it. And then you can just go and go back and forth right from that. Like I said, it'll be with the new release from the inquiry screen, and you can always get to it from the support page. Okay. So, that's all we have from CVR today. If you have any questions from any of us. Again, if you want to be a pilot, obviously right now you can't test your lease deals to see if they work, but some of the other things we showed you about the ST 556 or the NVIDIS, that's all available, and you get all that earlier than everybody else. And also, then you get to make sure you get extra help with downloading the software, because at the end, everyone's going to be downloading it. And then if you have any problems with it, again, we'll give you Julie's home number, because, you know, then you have 24/7 support. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne. Now, if you have Secretary of State come up and kind of wrap it up with some pilot registrations.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to see all your faces this morning. I'm just going to, I'm Joey with the Secretary of State. I have Kelly here also with us. We're going to kind of go over some title and registration, just a few quick things. I'm with the non-standard special plate section. She, of course, does all of our titling information. I'm going to start off by going through some of our departments with the Secretary of State. We have our Chicago information line, commercial farm and truck, our customer service and dealer licensing, which I'm sure many of you have spoken with, automation and technical support, our ERT, downstate field services, mandatory insurance, metro field services, motor vehicle records, our public inquiry, special plates, vehicle records processing, and our Winchester Distribution Center. Just a few quick functions of the Secretary of State Vehicle Services Department. We license and regulate vehicle dealerships, maintain the vehicle records, we issue plates and our annual renewal stickers. The Secretary of State's office, we have approximately 9.5 million vehicles that we register annually and roughly 3.2 million titles that we issue annually. From here, I'm going to turn it over to Kelly. She's going to go over a couple of our actual forms that we have and a couple of our affirmations. Once she's through, then I will take over and do some of our registration documents.
Good morning, my name is Kelly, and I'm in the title section of the Secretary of State's office. The form we currently have up is our electronic application form, which I'm sure you've seen many times. We have two separate forms. We have what is called our ERT form, which comes through a service provider like CVR. We also have our what we call our PERT form, which is a public form on our website at CyberDrive Illinois that you could go on. Most of the dealers have to go through a service provider. If you're a franchise dealers, but the used dealers, they're able to go onto our website and use that form. Okay, this is just the type of transaction. The different kinds you can do is a title and transfer, title only, or duplicate title. Then the next is the owner information for name, address, and driver's license number if available. With the vehicle information, it asks for the VIN number, year, make, model, odometer, rebuild or flood if it happens to be one of those vehicles. And then we have our mail to or lien information. On the electronic forms, it will let you put both information in, but if there is a lien holder on there, that will be the only information that prints on the title. Since we are a title holding state, it automatically goes to them, so the mail to information will be left off of the title. At the bottom portion of the section of the application is the beneficiary information. That information is added on the application a lot. It's only to be put on the title if we have the affidavit form to add it on there, and also it can only be added onto a title that is a single ownership with no lien information on it. This is our regular paper VSD 190 application form. Sometimes the VIN numbers of the vehicle will not let you use the electronic forms, so we ask that you use the paper form here and send it in with all the supporting documentation. A lot of the special plates that customers like to apply for sometimes aren't on the system, so you'd have to use the form like this to have it sent in for that special plate. And here's one of the tax forms. The CVR system does it for you, but we still need a copy sent in showing that it has been paid. If we do receive paperwork without a tax form, we will reject it because we have to verify it's been paid. If it hasn't been, that's why we send it back. Let's see. Then we have our secure power of attorney form. We ask that you try to get one with all your paperwork. There is a few times that when applications come in, there sometimes are missing signatures or forms that you might be able to use the power of attorney form to sign the affidavit for them in cases of joint ownership on a plate and they're transferring that plate to another vehicle, then they would need to remove a name if only one of the owners is going on to the new vehicle. The next is the 20-day deadline rule for paperwork to be submitted to our office. It is not an old, or it's not a new rule, it's just one that's being newly enforced. The rule is 20 days. We are giving you 29 days to get paperwork into our office before we start assessing fees. All the invoices will be sent at the beginning of the month and mailed out, and I've been told that if you would call into that section, give them your dealer number and an email address, they can email that out to you also. They do expect payment within 20 days, and if not, we have other rules that go into effect. When the application is received late, if it's between 30 and 59 days, it's a $20 fee. If it's between 60 and 59 or 60 and 89 days, it's $35. 90 and 119 days, it's $65, and 120 more days, then it's $100 per application. When the invoice is sent out, if it's 120 days past due, then we will send out a dealer representative to your dealership to visit you, or sometimes they call depending on the load that they have. If we still don't receive anything after 150 days, we will require a 36-month bond to be activated onto the dealership if it hasn't, or if you still don't currently have one. And then after 180 days, it's possible that the dealer's license will be revoked. Then we'll come out and take all the plates and the TRPs so that the dealership would not be able to process any transactions. Another service that's provided in our office is the expedited title section. They are able to issue titles within 24 to 48 hours, and they do that on regular title transactions, duplicates, corrected titles, and standard ownership changes. Most out-of-state titles aren't able to be done unless they are through dealers. Every now and then an individual will come through and we're unable to process those. To process the expedited title, there is an additional $30 fee. So if you were applying for just a regular duplicate title, it would be $95 plus the additional $30 to make it $125. The applications can either be mailed into our Springfield address or taken into some of our local facilities that processes expedited titles. If you go into that facility before 12 o'clock, that title will be issued that same day, shipped out through UPS that same day to be delivered the next day to either your dealership, the lien holder, or the customer if that's where it needs to go. If it's after 12 o'clock, then it's an additional business day. So if you went into the facility today after 12, the title would be issued tomorrow, shipped out tomorrow to be delivered on Monday. We don't have any Saturday deliveries. Since we go through UPS, the way our contract is set up, it only goes to actual business addresses. We aren't able to deliver to PO boxes. So if the address is a PO box, it will go out regular mail. The Springfield facility is the only one that you can physically pick it up at the same day. You can have it sent back to one of the other facilities and be able to pick it up the next business day. The dealer lien release titles. In some instances, a customer may come into your dealership and currently have a loan on the vehicle. If you are unable to wait for that title to come into you, you can apply for a duplicate title at a reduced fee of $20. With that information, we would need the application form, the lien release form, and then a mail to section of the dealership, and we could have that sent back to you at the reduced fee. Once that title from the lien holder comes into you, it would be null and void, so you could either
shred it once you received it, or if you wanted to, you could send it back to the Secretary of State's office stating that this title is null and void, duplicate has been issued since. This is able to be done with out-of-state titles also, but since we are unable to see those records, we would ask not only to have the lien release, but a copy of the title faxed from the lien holder to verify who the current owner is, the vehicle information, and the current title number. And if they are unable to provide that, then we would also need records from that state's DMV to verify that that is the current and correct information. We currently have 3 types of title: the regular vehicle title, the salvage title, and the junk title. We will be issuing a new provisional title. Most of you will not see it. It is for cases of ownership problems through the private party. All the titles are currently staying the same. The regular one is the regular title is the purple paper, the salvage is the red paper, the junk is the green paper, and the new provisional title will be on brown paper. This will be temporary ownership only. Currently, when customers are unable to provide ownership documentation, they have to take out a bond and go through the bonded title process. As of January 1, they will be able to skip that process as long as they will not sell the vehicle for 3 years. If they plan to keep it for 3 years, they can go through the provisional title service. And what that means is for 3 years, they are not able to sell the vehicle. This provisional title will not have any reassignment areas on the back to sell it. There cannot be any lien information added to it, so it cannot be traded and it cannot be exported within those 3 years. Once those 3 years are up, the customer is able to go into the Secretary of State's office, apply for a regular title, and receive one of the purple ones. So if they happen to come into your dealership and have that brown title, they are not able to do anything with that vehicle until it's been traded into the Secretary of State's office to issue a regular purple title. So just have them contact our office and we'll be able to help them do that. The NMBDIS program. We have entered into that system, and every application that comes through our office goes through that system. Unfortunately, not all states go through the NMBDIS system currently. These are a few, but when we go through and check, we verify according to their system if that's the most current title that we have with the application form. We verify to see if there's any brands missing from other states, and we verify that the odometer reading is consistent. We recommend that you use the NMBDIS program through the CBR system if that's what you're using, to the not any surprises, because if something shows on the NMBDIS system that doesn't conform with the current title, we will be adding that to ours. If for some reason it shows that it has been salvaged and rebuilt in a state and it's not branded on the current title that we have in hand, we will have that added to the new Illinois title that is issued. So if you, excuse me, we recommend that you try to use that so there's not any surprises that may come up. And now, Joey.
Our vehicle registration, you all know, I'm sure with being dealers, we are a 2-plate state. It is very important that the customers have 2 plates on their vehicle in Illinois, a front and a back plate. If for any reason they should lose a plate or it get damaged, they do need to come to their local facility and get that replaced and run on a temporary plate until their other plate is done, because if they're running on the 1 plate, a law officer can ticket them for only having 1 plate. They also should have their expiration sticker that is located on the back plate, and then their registration card needs to be in their glove box. A couple things that I want to touch on with the registration that we continue to have problems with in the office is when you're doing a vehicle registration, we need to make sure that the registration card and the title for that vehicle match. If they do not match, it's not a legal transaction. A lot of times we'll have a husband and wife that purchase a vehicle and have a car registered. They come in to get a new vehicle. Possibly the husband is the only one that wants to go on that new vehicle, but they want to transfer that plate over. If you're transferring that plate over, it is very important that you fill out the affirmation of correction for that wife to release interest in that plate. Because legally, he is the only one that can go on that registration if he is the only one going on that new title. Also, a lot of customers don't understand with their sticker, they'll get it in the mail and they'll call because they'll say, my sticker says October, and I was at the dealership and finished the paperwork at the beginning of November. Why do I have an October sticker? That sticker goes by the purchase date. So if those customers come in and purchase on October 31st, and their paperwork doesn't get finished until the 1st of November into the Secretary of State, they don't get a sticker that processes in November. If the purchase date on those documents state October, their sticker is going to expire October of next year. There's a lot of customers that don't understand that. We try to explain it to them, but they feel like they've lost a whole month then, but sadly that's how it works. Also, we have the special plates. They are all listed on cyberdriveillinois.com. I know a lot of customers go into the dealerships and the dealerships don't realize that they can actually process specialized plates. You can process the specialized plates at your dealership, any of our plates. The only thing that we do ask is they be done on the VSD 190 form. Some of our specialized plates are out there on the ERT program. If they are on the ERT program, please use that program to do the special plates because it's a wonderful program. If not, fill out the VSD 190 form and submit all the affirmations and documents that way. When you go out to CyberDrive with our special plates, you can click on each individual plate. It will give you a little bit of information about the plate, if there is any extra affirmation or form that needs to go in, and what the fees are. Some of them are our military plates. They're really popular. The most important thing to remember on that is to sit in a DD-214 with all of the military plates. We have our handicap plates. The main thing on that is to remember that they have to have a permanent handicap parking placard. Just write that parking placard at the bottom of their application and submit it in to us. With the specialty plates, you will have to enter a temporary registration for them to run on in the meantime. The temporary registration, of course, is only good for 90 days, and there's only one TRP per vehicle per year until the vehicle is titled. I'm sure you all are familiar with that as well. The last thing that we have today is vehicle services. In your packet, we have several important information lines in there. I know a lot of you, when you get called in, you get into the public service line, it gets jammed up pretty good and you may be waiting. These are kind of some direct lines to the departments to help you and to get a quicker response. We have our information line, our titles division, expedited titles, special plates, registration processing, our ERT division, and our forms and distribution center. Kelly and I will be here after the seminar wraps up to answer any questions that you guys might have. If there's anything that we cannot answer for us, then we'd be more than happy to write it down, take it back to the office, and get you an answer. I thank you all for being here today, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. Just one thing before we turn you loose, just to make sure everybody's clear on how everything's going to be taxed and just the new lease tax. One, I guess we ask you all to talk to your DMS providers and your make sure that they're up to speed. There are a few little differences in the way the new lease tax is going to operate. You know, basically everything that because I never leave home without a standard lease contract in my pocket. Everything that shows up on the front page as far as the amount due at lease signing and delivery is going to fall under that, the taxable base under the new system, which we talked earlier about the capitalized cost reduction, all the payments, the title fee and license fee, which is a little different than the current world, just because of the way the bill was drafted, it will pick that up. So I guess that we just ask you to reach out to all of your providers, make sure they understand that. You all have my contact information. I'm happy to talk to any of them myself. I want to make sure that they are helping you calculate the right number, so that our friends over there, they are from the government, they're here to help, but they work with people who audit you. So I want to make sure that everything's clean a couple of years from now when the audit division visits. But we want to make sure the number is correct at the beginning. Again, that kind of concludes our formal thing. We're here for questions. If anybody has some.
Real quick, just the last few, I promise you, last few, this one. This is going to be on our website, illinoisdealers.com, all of these, the video now. We talked, through the process, we talked a little bit about fines, inventory stuff, the Secretary of State stuff. Since we've been involved with CBR for 10 years, it kills us. Dealers should not be fined. I know some of the late title work, obviously that's out of your control, but try that quick lien release process. We've had some dealers that had real good success with it. We had some that, there's always some snafus, but try that. If from day one you're going to have trouble getting the title from somebody, use it. It's $20 instead of $95. So that's one issue. As far as your inventory, dealers should never pay a dime for a missing sticker or plate. Run those reports, keep on top of them. If something happens, file a police report, send us some kind of documentation, because that's silly. Should never do that. So, other than that, we officially wrap it up. Thank you very much. We appreciate revenue coming to do this for us, Secretary of State, everybody. So, but mainly thank you guys for coming. Appreciate it. I guess we get going. Hey, welcome. I'm Mike Healy. I'm with Illinois Auto Dealers Association. Appreciate everybody coming. We know middle of the week, the early part of the month, it's tough to get out of the dealership. But we had a short window to get this thing in, so we appreciate you coming. We got a lot of good stuff, I think, to cover. So we've done a couple of them earlier in the week. We're up in Chicago and Peoria. Just had huge. We had over 450 people, so it was a squeezing deal. So this will be hopefully a little bit more comfortable here, and things will flow okay. So I'd say what we are going to do. All these slides that you see today, we're going to have them posted on our IllinoisDealers.com website. So if you ever want to revisit what we've got going on, they'll be right there on the home page, IllinoisDealers.com website. We're also videotaping this today, so again, if you want to revisit this, anybody else in the dealership, any other personnel that wants to come back and take a look at it, that would be great. So if you want to be on the video, ask good questions. If you want to be on a YouTube, your video your kids watch, ask some silly questions or something. A lot of good stuff to talk about. Obviously, the improved lease process, how it'll work, how the process will flow through CBR, some helpful training, CBR issues, and then we've also got the Secretary of State here. They've been grateful enough to come and talk about some relevant title and registration issues. So why I'm here, actually, I just the opportunity to be in front of you guys and thank you for your support and participation in IADA. We've got some real good presenters here. I'm actually one of them, so I'll be brief, but just want to let you know how huge it is to have you guys participate and be proactive in the process. Pete Sander, I got Pete Sander here. Let me recognize him real quick. He's the president of the Auto Dealers Association. So just can't stress enough, when our dealers get involved in the process, good things happen. So I thought I'd give you just 4 quick tangible things that have happened recently because of your participation. One, obviously, is this lease deal. Now we're on more of a level playing field with the way most of the states do it. So dealers got real involved in the grassroots effort, contacted legislators, the governor's office, and now we've got a more favorable way lease. Second thing, the other thing, again, CVR. 10 years ago, dealers came and said, hey, we really need to update and automate the title registration process. So began working with us, the Secretary of State, and now we've got, lo and behold, CVR. So in the state of Illinois, CVR, there are more transactions run through CVR than any other state in the country. So it's a testament to you guys. You've really embraced the program. CVR is your process. It's your program. It's a great job. What else? You know, there was the crazy deal this year. There was a big push in Springfield. Had a legislator that wanted to end the Sunday closing law. So in effect, dealers would have been open 7 days a week. You know, even though the Secretary of State wasn't available, banks aren't open. So dealers got very involved in that and said, hey, we're not Walmart, we're not a typical retail place, and you did a great job of taking care of that. And one more, your retail collection allowance, 1 3/4% that you earn for collected tax and remitting. Every year that comes up, and you know the state's in a little bit of a financial situation. They're always looking for ways to save money, generate revenue. That comes up every year that they want to take that away. So again, we reach out to you guys and say, hey, contact your legislators. You've done a great job, and that's keep coming up, but stay active and stay involved. So like I said, a lot of tangible things happen, intangible things. So we appreciate your involvement, participate, your membership. The way it's going to work today. We're going to have Larry Dahl, our legal counsel, IADA legal counsel, come over and talk about the lease deal kind of from the 300-foot level, the overview and the history of it. Department of Revenue will follow up and dig into more of the details. And then after that, CVR is going to follow up, talk about how the process flows through their CVR system, and also some other CVR helpful tips that will help you out as far as processing it at the dealerships. And then lastly, Secretary of State will come up and talk about some of the relevant title registration issues. So, if nothing else, before I turn over to Larry, I would like to recognize John Rader. John's with CVR. He's going to come up and just say a few words. John's one of the guys, he's been with us since day one in Springfield, in Illinois, promoting the thing. He's a national director now, but he's very involved in Illinois. He's going to make sure we've got all we need and all the support we need to keep this thing as good as it can be, and to make sure that we've got the best process for you guys. So, John, if you don't mind.
Thanks, Mike. You bet. Good morning, everyone. I don't know if you guys are how many of you live right here in the St. Louis area, but last night the weather forecast was pretty lousy for today. It looked like it was going to take forever to get here, so we all got lucky, dodged the bullet on the weather. I'll just take a minute, but I wanted to mention, is anybody by chance here from Miles Chevrolet? No? The reason I mentioned that was 10 years ago in November, CVR started in the state of Illinois. And in the month of November, 10 years ago, we did 6 transactions. They were all done at Miles Chevrolet. They were our pilot dealership. Earlier in the month of November, we eclipsed 1 million electronic transactions for the year alone. So it's tremendous success story in the state of Illinois. And it's kind of interesting because it more so than any other place in the country, government, dealers, and private industry work together to really drive this what it was. No state grew as quickly as this did. No state had the success this state did. And we operate from California to Massachusetts, from Florida to Oregon. So I have the luxury of seeing the whole country. And you guys really are lucky in this state to have certainly a dealer association as good as you have here, but also the Secretary of State and Department of Revenue as well. It's always interesting. I always, over the years, whenever I'm talking to my team, we'll talk about, a dealer calls with a problem or something. Well, if you can't get them up with a good answer, kind of say, well, the Department of Motor Vehicle or the Secretary of State, as soon as you say that, they say, yeah, I know. So you can easily dump on the state all the time. And I've done that over the years, and it works real well. But the truth is it's not always valid. That this, in Illinois, it really is a state that works with us. Kevin Richards and I were talking a few minutes ago, saying that we really try, while we were going through growing the state and whatnot, a lot of states, when you have any problems, they immediately say, stop doing any business till we get this fixed. In Illinois, it was always like, let's keep moving forward, let's get it fixed, but let's keep moving forward. And that's really what made this state unique and the success of the state. So we are most appreciative of it. We continue to want to improve the product. I think you'll hear from the the folks from CVR later on about the things we're doing not only today but in the future to make sure the state remains the best state in the nation. So I just wanted to thank you all for using our product and give us the feedback you do, and we want to continue to serve you in the future. So thanks a lot, and Larry, thank you.
Morning, everybody. Thank you for coming out. We've been overwhelmed with the turnout this week. It's great to see all of you. Going to give you just a quick background before we get into the nuts and bolts with Department of Revenue, but just to recap where we've been. First of all, changes to the way Illinois taxes leases. We passed legislation twice, once during the Edgar administration and once back in the Thompson administration. Got it all the way to the governor's desk, only to see it vetoed. So this past year or so, with a real good grassroots effort from our dealers and working in cooperation with CITA and IADA working together, we were able to get it across the finish line. So just for background, starting January 1st of 2015, the way leases are taxed for fixed-term leases of qualifying vehicles is going to change. Before we get into that, just a fixed-term lease is a standard lease that's probably 99.9% of the leases that each of you do, if not more. It's a lease where the term of the lease is stated in the lease contract. If there's a charge because the customer doesn't turn the vehicle in on the stated lease termination date, that doesn't take it out of being a fixed-term lease. It's more of a liquidated damages thing. So that'll be a fixed-term lease. So it has to be a fixed-term lease as opposed to an open-ended lease where the customer has sole discretion as far as when to end the lease. Qualifying vehicles, we'll get into this more later, but in brief, any first division vehicle and certain second division vehicles such as RVs, most vans, trucks under 8,000 pound gross vehicle weight rating, motorcycles, things of that nature. Okay, just real quick, the way a purchase is taxed right now on a $31,000 car with a $10,000 trade-in, obviously tax the difference of $21,000. Very similar to the way leases are taxed through the end of this year. Using dealer trade-in credits, a similar situation. A lease is taxed on the entire selling price of the vehicle, less any trade-ins that apply, and go from there. Starting January 1st, leases will be taxed only on the value of the lease. So any amount collected by the dealer at the date the lease contract is signed, any money down plus the monthly payments. And it is all taxed at signing rather than every month. So multiply that by your rate. So even though trade-in credits are no longer available, the taxable base is much lower that you're working from. So you'll get, be able to achieve considerable tax savings when you offer a lease. Like I said, I was going to be brief before I turn it over to the experts. There's my contact information. Also, anybody at IADA can be reached at www.illinoisdealers.com. We'll be available, as will Department of Revenue, afterwards for any questions that if you think of something that we don't get to in the presentation. And with that, I will turn it over to Kevin Richards, who is in charge of all the electronic commerce at the Illinois Department of Revenue, and has been a big partner with us and with CVR.
Thank you, Larry. I just wanted to take a moment and kind of echo some of the remarks that John and Mike already have stated. But wow, 10 years ago, 6 returns, $1 million plus this year. You know, that wouldn't be possible without the collaboration between the Department of Revenue, Secretary of State, CBR, Illinois Auto Dealers Association. I think it's a great example of organizations, both government and industry, working together and, coming up with a win-win for everyone. But we also want to thank you for all your support of moving things into the electronic arena. So we're wanting to make this new implementation as smooth as possible for you all and make sure that we have electronic programs running like we're supposed to. So we appreciate having the opportunity to come out today and talk about the new lease tax, and I think this is going to be a win-win for everybody as well. So that being said, at any point in time, if there's issues, you can always contact us, as well as the Auto Dealer Association or your rep at CBR as far as that goes, as we kick off this new program. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to our experts, Brett Lindsay and Sam Warren, but I want to again thank you all for your continued support.
Good morning. First, we want to thank IADA for inviting us to speak here today to help get the word out about the new lease tax. My name is Sam Moore. I'm an attorney at the Illinois Department of Revenue, and I'm here with Brett Lindsay, who's our top technical advisor in the sales tax processing area. And together, we're going to go over how Public Act 98-628 changes how you determine the selling price when you sell a vehicle for lease. This is a big change for Illinois. It's definitely a big change for the Department of Revenue, and we know that it's a big change for auto dealers and for leasing companies. And we've been working on rolling out this process for more than 6 months, so that we'll be ready on January 1st when it kicks in. And today we hope to educate you on all the changes that will be taking place. We also know that with any big change, there will be questions. So we're here today to try to answer your questions, and if you have questions that we don't have the answer to today, we'll take it back to the department and get it answered for you. The biggest points we'd like you to take away from the presentation. First, the tax structure hasn't changed. The retailer's occupation tax is still imposed on the auto dealer who sells the car for lease. The use tax is still imposed on the leasing company who purchases the vehicle for lease. What has changed is that the selling price that you use to measure what you're going to impose tax on is different. It's no longer the actual price the leasing company pays. Now it's the amount due at lease signing plus the payments under the lease contract. So it's the amount of the lease contract. The trade-off in that legislation for this reduced selling price is that you can no longer take a trade-in deduction when you're calculating your selling price for tax purposes. But there are many other changes, and so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Brett Lindsay to go through the slides.
Morning. All right, first off, you should have grabbed a packet on the table out front, just to let you know what's actually in the packet. And if you want to follow through or follow along as we go through this, one on the left-hand side is the PowerPoint, and then on the right-hand side, I've actually given the informational bulletin on all these changes and copies of some returns. There are a couple of new returns, so if you want to follow along as I get into the details, it will help. Just a reminder that the returns that I actually have in there are blank returns. Do not use them. When you leave here, don't get copies of them. They do not have numbers on them. They are not pre-printed, so there's no transaction numbers on them whatsoever. There was a watermark on it, but when it was copied, it kind of faded out. So just, it does cause lots of problems for us when that happens. So. All right, Public Act 98-628 amends ROT and UT to provide an alternate method for determining the selling price. All these changes take effect January 1, 2015. Who tax is imposed on, like Sam said, will not change. ROT is still on the auto dealer. Use tax is still on the leasing company. no tax is imposed on the lessee. The law didn't change how motor vehicle leases are taxed in Illinois, only how to determine the selling price. All right, who must use the alternate selling price on motor vehicles to qualify? You must use this if, you must use this alternate method and the following conditions will apply. Trading credit is not allowed to reduce the selling price. Credit for tax paid on previously leased items cannot be used against the tax liability when it's sold at the end of the lease. And additional charges at the end of the lease, for example, excess wear and mileage, or retaining possession of the vehicle for 1 month. Those are now going to be reported on a new form at the end of the lease from the leasing company. And I'll get into more details on how all this works. All right, to accommodate these changes, the department created the following new forms to report all lease transactions starting January 1, 2015. The new form ST556 LSE. This is a return for leases, and a new RUT 25 LSE, which if you're a dealer, you don't use that form, you use the 556, but leasing companies and people who go out of state and lease out of state and bring it in, that's the form they will use. And then the form LSE-1, which is the tax return for the leasing companies. And it's used to calculate additional tax due that wasn't previously reported at the initial sale. All right, we've also revised existing returns to remove the prior applicability for lease transactions. So the ST556 has, been revised to take off the reference to leases. The form actually hasn't changed as far as line numbers haven't changed. So all we've done is pull off any reference to leases and the instructions pulling off the reference to leases on the 556 form. Same thing with the RUT 25 form. All right, how is the selling price determined for leases? Beginning January 1, the selling price for leased items is determined in one of two ways. Either the actual selling price or the amount due at lease signing, plus the total amount of payments over the term of the lease. For example, using the amount due at signing plus total payments, using a rate of 6 1/4, total due at lease signing $2,000, monthly lease payment $14,400, which represents $400 a month for 36 months. The total selling price is now $16,400 and tax due of $1,025. Now, also out on the table was a sheet that had a calculation page. That page actually gives you a formula to use if you want to reimburse yourself for the tax due from the leasing company. So, from the lessee. The reason that is in there is because as soon as you charge tax, and that is all involved or all included with their down payment, it is now it increased the amount due, which would increase how much you're reporting and how much tax is being reported. So, and it really calcs out, you're really short like $78. And then if you throw the $78 back into the contract the second time around, it really is like $4.97 or something like that. It's a very simple formula that you can do that the leasing company can reimburse themselves of the tax from the lessee, so that you can actually put it all in there. Okay? All right, what lease transactions must use this alternate selling price? The alternate selling price must be used when qualifying motor vehicle is sold for the purpose of being leased under a fixed term of a period of more than 1 year. As Larry said earlier, first division motor vehicles, second division motor vehicles, a lot of vehicles on there. I'm not going to go through the whole list and read it to you. It's in your packet. But examples are automobiles, pickup trucks, or utility vehicles with a gross vehicle weight rating of 8,000. Certain vans, motorcycles, motor-driven cycles, and motorhomes, recreational vehicles. For all other leases, you must use the actual selling price, then minus the trade-in to calculate the sales and use tax due. Just to give you an example of something, if somebody is leasing aircraft, watercraft, those items are not first or second division vehicles. They still fall under the old rules. All right, is the alternate selling price used for all lease transactions for qualifying items? No, even if the motor vehicle is a qualifying vehicle and the lease period exceeds 1 year, you must use the actual selling price if the term is not a defined period. This includes leases with a defined initial period, with the option to continue the lease on a month-to-month or other indefinite basis beyond the defined initial period. And I'll let Sam come up and talk a little more about the contract stuff so that you have a little clearer picture on it. And then I'll be back.
So something we've gotten a lot of questions on as we led up to this was the statute requires that one of the factors for the lease to qualify for this reduced selling price, for the transaction to qualify for this reduced selling price, is if the lease is for a defined period in excess of 1 year. And as Brett said, does that mean that all these transactions that otherwise qualify would qualify? And the answer is no. And so here's an example, though, of a lease transaction that would not qualify for this reduced selling price. Our guess is, and Larry alluded to this, the likelihood is that you guys in the room here are not going to see lease contracts like this. You won't be working with them. Most conventional leases will qualify. But for instance, if a lease has a contract language that says, the initial term of the lease shall be for a period of 12 months and 1 day, and shall continue from month to month thereafter at the option of the lessee, until the lessee notifies the lessor in writing of the intent to terminate the lease. Any such notice shall occur at least 30 days prior to such termination date, but no earlier than 1 year and 1 day after the delivery date of the leased vehicle. This contract does exceed the year, so it meets that requirement, but it doesn't have the definite period aspect because the lessee can terminate at his own option. So the sale of a vehicle subject to this lease would not qualify for the new alternative definition of selling price, and the lessor must pay use tax on the entire selling price, minus the trade-in, of course. In contrast, if a contract allows for any type of lease continuation, does that automatically prohibit the use of the new alternate selling price? And the answer there is no. And this will be probably in contracts that you look at, that you are going to be using. And we just want to point out that there sometimes is language that may make you think that this is an indefinite period. Maybe I'm not eligible to use this lease for this reduced selling price. In those cases, you still would be able to. Sales of vehicles to leasing companies entering into otherwise qualifying lease contracts are eligible to be taxed under the new alternative definition, even if the leases also contain provisions that allow for a short-term continuation of the lease if the lease uses language identical to the following examples. So for example, we sometimes see on the back of the instruction, like sort of the boilerplate on those lease contracts, there's a return of the vehicle provision. And in that provision, there's language that reads like this. If you, the lessee, keep possession of this vehicle past the end of the lease term, you will continue to pay the monthly payments but you agree that you have no right to keep this vehicle unless you enter into a written agreement with us extending the lease term. So if you see language like that, it's clear that they're extending it, it's going beyond the defined term, but it's embedded in this context of you've gone beyond the fixed term of the lease. So even though this is some extension, the lease wasn't designed to be extended this way. There are two other examples in your handouts. I'm not going to read through each one, but we took these examples from leases that we looked at. The bottom line here is if you have a conventional lease, it's got language like this, return of the vehicle, that allows for some short-term extension if you essentially don't follow the lease terms. That doesn't take you out of the reduced selling price.
Okay, what form will I use to report tax on leased items? Effective January 1, 2015, the 556 will be used for all leases, whether it's a qualifying lease for the reduced selling price or it doesn't. It's still on a new form that is the 556 LSE. Okay, whether the tax is calculated using the value of the lease. The RUT 25 LSE, like I said, as a dealer, you guys don't use it, but we did actually separate both forms so that the 556 now is a 556 and a 556 LSE, and the RUT 25 and the RUT 25 LSE. Okay, what selling price should I use when calculating additional municipal and county vehicle use tax? When calculating additional municipal or county vehicle use tax, you should use the selling price that you reported on one of those forms. So it does just carry over. Are there any other new filing requirements? Yes, we are also introducing the new form LSE-1. This tax return is for leasing companies. Form LSE-1 is only required to be filed for vehicles sold for lease after January 1. If the selling price reported on the return was the amount due at signing plus the total amount of payments and if there was additional charges. Form LSE-1 is used to calculate tax due on any additional taxable amount that was not previously reported. This return must be filed by the leasing company that has been leasing the item that the user has titled or registered in Illinois, and Form LSE-1 is filed on a monthly basis. It includes additional taxable amounts from all leases for that month. So very simply put, as a dealer, the initial contract, once you sell it to a leasing company for lease, you're going to fill out an ST556 LSE and report the sale. When that vehicle is turned back in, if there is no additional charges, so no excess mileage, no excess wear and tear, no form needs to be filed by the leasing company. If there are additional charges, then the leasing company will have to file a return because those are amounts that were not originally reported. Okay, which I'll get into this a little later too, but it really goes back to the original sale also. So the original location, and if there are 5 vehicles returned for the month, 3 of them have additional charges, 2 of them don't. The 3 that have additional charges would be completed on an LSE-1 and an LSE-2. An LSE-2 is basically breaking out each one of those transactions, and then the LSE-1 is a summary of all of those vehicles that had additional charges. If you're just a dealer, you don't have to worry about that form whatsoever. Here's an example. Lessee retained the vehicle 1 month beyond the term of the lease. The leasing company charged the lessee an additional month's lease payment plus excess wear and excess mileage charges. Form LSE 1 must be filed by the leasing company, report the additional charges. Excess wear and mileage 500, retaining possession of the motor vehicle 1 month beyond $400. The total is $900, and that would need to be reported on the LSE 1 and an LSE 2. So really, the LSE 2 is each one of them, and then combined on the LSE 1. Do I need to register to file Form LSE 1? Yes. If you're a leasing company that's been leasing the item that the user has title registered, you do need to get registered now. We have a list of most leasing companies. We are adding the account onto their registration. So if anybody is using MyTax on our department's website, most of them we will add the LSE 1 account to it so that it's there that they can file. Now, really think about this. The first time that this form can be filed really is February of 2016, because the lease has to take effect after January 1 of 2015. It has to be more than 12 months. So if they turn it back in, the first return really can't be until February of 2016. Okay. All right, do I need to register to file Form ST556 LSE? If I'm already registered to file Form ST556, the answer is no. It is one account with us. So CDR, all the electronic services, they'll have this set up, but I can tell you how the department will do it. If you use MyTax and you file electronically through us, when you go into your account, you will go into your 556 account, and when you want to go file a return, you click on the left, I want to file a return. The very first screen that pops up is you pick which one it is, an ST556 or an ST556 LSE. Once you do that, then it will take you to that return. So really, both returns are filed under one account. Will there be changes to existing tax forms? Yes. To implement the new legislation, we've revised both of the old forms as well as the amended returns to pull off all the references to leasing. How do I file forms 556 and 556 LSE? They can be filed electronically. You can use CDR. Also, any of the other dealer track and any of those will be should be all ready to go for you. Pre-printed paper returns. If you log into MyTax on the department's website, you will be able to print a pre-printed return from there. Okay? You can also call to get some forms. However, all of you know that we have been limiting how much or how many forms you get from us on paper. Yes?
I'm kind of new to this, so bear with me.
Okay.
Right now, if I have a retail deal, I can go to CVR, they carry my plates, my taxes, everything over on that. Will it still do the same thing on this new lease, or I have to go to my tax site?
No, CVR will accommodate all of these changes.
So is it automatic to compute the payments and stuff then, or the tax due?
Actually, what you put into CVR,
Correct.
You put a number into CVR,
Correct.
right? So the tax calculation sheet that I gave you, I'm not sure. I mean, really, that's through CVR,
Okay.
not through us.
Okay.
But I don't think that they're doing that part of it. But there are some things in the works for other.
So basically on a lease, I'm not gonna have to go over at my tax site to do it, because CVR is a
No,
lot easier.
you can still do all of that through CVR.
Thanks.
Yep. All right, how do I file Form LSE1? It has to be filed electronically. It cannot be filed by paper, so it has to be filed and paid electronically. But once again, this is the leasing company's return. And this will be on my tax. And like I said, really, in 2016 is really the first time it should be due. All right, will the correspondence I received from the department change? No, the correspondence for these forms will all look the same. However, you will see some changes as far as like, instead of it saying ST556 account, you'll see where it says ST556 account / ST556-LSE. Because really, both of them are on the one account. So that's really the only changes that you'll see in the correspondence, otherwise it all looks the same. Can I apply credit resulting from a 556 transaction to Form ST556 LSE? Yes. So it is one account. So if you have credits on your account that came from a 556 and you want to use them against an ST556 LSE, then yes, you can use them across the two forms. Okay? Matter of fact, if you are short on one of them, we will apply it automatically. So it's just like now on regular 556, if you're short, we'll apply credit if you have it on your account to save you penalties. When can I claim credit for taxes paid on a lease transaction? If I sell the item at the end of the lease. If you're a leasing company leasing an item, it must be titled and registered. If you sell it at the end of the lease, that sale is subject to ROT, and it must be reported on a 556. If the selling price reported on the actual return for the original lease transaction was the actual selling price, then you can still claim credit for tax previously paid, which is line 10, which is the lease tax credit. However, if the selling price on the original lease transaction was the value of the lease, so the reduced selling price, you cannot use line 10. Can I claim a trade-in credit on Form ST556 LSE? All right. The answer isn't as easy as yes or no, because it really depends on whether it was a qualifying motor vehicle. So if you want to look at the return that I gave you in the packet, the ST556 LSE, it's pretty easy to look at it there as I'm saying this, because really it's Step 7. It basically on the ST556 LSE, Step 7, you're going to mark which selling price was used. Now, like I said, most of these leases are going to qualify, so you're going, I mean, the whole idea is to reduce the selling price and get lower payments. So most of these you're going to be able to use it. However, if the selling price for the lease transaction is the actual selling price, you can claim credit for a qualified trade-in on line 2 on the return. No, if the selling price for the lease transaction is the value of the lease. So looking at it, if you mark box A, then you cannot have anything on line 2 down in step 8. If you mark box B, then that's because it's the actual selling price, because it doesn't qualify, it's not a defined period, then you're still allowed to reduce the selling price by the trade-in amount.
So basically it's an open-ended lease then?
Yes, an open-ended lease. That would still be actual selling price. All right, now, just because you can't claim a trade-in, doesn't mean that you can't accept a trade-in from your lease customer as part of the transaction, but you cannot deduct the value of the trade-in from the selling price of the lease item when calculating the tax due. So you can take it and subtract it after. Now, one thing I also wanted to tell you is if you don't mark a box on that step 7, and you leave it blank, we will not give you line 2. So if you don't mark it, you put something on line 2 and 8, we will take it away because you have not told us which method was being used. All right, here's an example. The customer wants to lease a vehicle. Retail selling price, $10,000. Leasing company offers lease contract starting with that stating that the customer must pay $500 at the start of the contract and $200 per month for 36 months. The customer has a vehicle to trade in with value given of $500. If the vehicle does not qualify for the alternate selling price, the selling price can be reduced, and there's the example. So on the form, it would be an ST556 LSE, section 7, box B would be marked. The selling price is $10,000. You get line 2, and the amount subject would be $9,500. All right, if the vehicle does qualify for the alternate selling price, then the tax due is based on the amount of the contract, which in this case would be $7,700, $500 down, $200 a month for 36 months is what that's made up of. Because the selling price is the value of the lease contract, you cannot reduce this amount by the $500 value of the trade-in. And the amount you would use to calculate the tax would be $7,700. And then, like I said, you are allowed to use the trade-in after the calculation. And here's the example, still the 556 LSE, section 7, box A would be marked, and $7,700, and no trade-in, and at 6 1/4, $481. All right, then again, assume further the customer owes at the end of the lease an additional $300 to the leasing company. If the original form, ST556 LSE filed at the start of the lease used the value of the lease, then the leasing company would be required to file Form LSE1 and report the tax due on the additional $300 payment. Like I said, it does use the original tax rate. Somebody asked what happens if the tax rate changed within the time frame from the original lease contract and when it was the end of the lease terminated. It is still using the same rate as when the contract actually was entered into. So, all right, just some couple examples here that in the return package that I put up here. One thing I do want to point out that we did on the ST556 LSE, we did split the information between the leasing company and the lessee. So this will make it a lot clearer for us. I know you guys are used to on a regular 556 when you're leasing, you're putting both names on that one line, and it gets messy. It will help us and should be a lot cleaner. All right, also, step 6, the exemptions. They are not the same exemptions as the ST556. The reason is because not all leases qualify for the same exemptions as a regular 556 or a regular sale, and when you report it on a 556. So what we've done is we've pulled off some of these on the ST556, and we did not put the ones for purchases on here, so they are This is really a cleaner way to go through these. Okay? The first one, which is exemption A, lease to non-Illinois residents, and it has a driveway permit number there in the state. There is no reference to the reciprocal, non-reciprocal chart on an ST 556 LSE. Okay? If, for example, you sold, we're using Indiana just because the first day we had some questions come up with Indiana, but if you sold to an Indiana resident a lease, so you're selling to a leasing company, that the lessee will basically go back to Indiana on a lease. There is no tax due on or in Illinois and on would be reported on the ST 556 LSE. Currently, you would take on a regular 556, you're marking F, other, and you would put Indiana lease contract. That would be exempt. On this, you're actually going to put it on A. Now, that is exempt to the state of Illinois. So if part of your deal still requires you to collect Indiana tax for the financing, for whatever that you're required to do, you can still do that, but you would report that to Indiana rather than reporting it to us. Does that make sense? No? All right, C, the lease to tax-exempt government bodies. This, on a regular 556, this was exempt for exempt organizations, and it could be anything. Leases, the exemption only carries over for governmental bodies. A church or a not-for-profit organization that has an E number, they are not currently exempt on a lease currently. So this just makes it a little cleaner because the only ones that do qualify are the governmental bodies. All right, like I said before, the step 7, the selling price, and you need to mark which one that you are using. And also step 8, the line 2, and don't use the trade-in if you are using the reduced selling price. And just so you get a quick look of kind of what this return looks like, we do have it done. You don't have it in your packet because most of you aren't leasing companies anyway, but also it will not be available on paper. It will only be available electronic, but that's what it looks like. This is your summary page, and the LSE2 actually is what breaks down the original transaction, the original dates of purchase for the leasing company, and where they actually, the taxable location is. Some reminders: Form LSE is used to calculate tax due on any additional taxable amount not previously reported on Form RUT 25 or the 556 LSE. The return must be filed by the leasing company. The LSE 1 is filed on a monthly basis. Now, if there's nothing to report, so you, as a leasing company, if there's no additional charges and nothing to report that month, you do not have a filing requirement. Meaning that you don't have to file every single month and report 0. There's no filing requirement unless the leasing company charges the lessee additional charges that must be reported to us. All right, a separate LSE2 must be completed for each motor vehicle that had additional tax due, and those go together. It'll be real easy to do it if there's multiple ones, because these leasing companies, if they go through our website, they'll be able to do it very easily got a whole year for it, so. All right, questions? And Sam's gonna come back up here too, so, yes.
Nothing was mentioned about cap cost reduction or rebates. Are they taxed as well as down payment?
Yes.
So if they have $5,000 CCR money, that's considered cash, white cash.
Right. Essentially, the way the statute reads is that any amount due at lease signing plus all the payments under the lease contract are subject to tax. So to the extent that that's part of the calculation for amount due at lease signing, then it's that number is how we measure the selling price.
And that formula will be used most of the time, it sounds like, that way, doing it that way.
On most leases, most of your leases will qualify for the new treatment.
For the new program. 8,000 GVWR Escalade, does Escalade change that position?
Now that's not a tax question. I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying,
No,
that
that's a
those
good
big
question.
SUVs, used to
SUVs will
fall,
qualify.
they used to
and-
fall under that.
Yeah, and 8,000 is the limit on it, so.
Yeah.
Right, and whether an Escalade is more than 8,000 or not.
Or under,
So if it's over, it's the old leasing rules?
yes.
Right,
It's
so
the old-
it's just the way you do it now.
Yeah,
Let
it
me
still
ask you-
has to qualify. It still has to qualify before you can use the new lower amount.
Let me ask you guys another question. Have you guys ever heard of these pull-ahead programs where they let you out of a lease early?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, is that going to affect this in any way if they get out 3 months early?
Terminates early for some reason, will that somehow affect the tax upfront? And the answer is no.
No.
Because the tax is really on that initial transaction where the dealership is sold to the leasing company, and that's done. The reason we look at the lease is just to measure selling price instead of the actual selling price. But what happens to that lease after doesn't impact the taxation in that transaction.
Which is similar to what happens now. If somebody ends their lease early, they don't get a tax
Yeah,
refund.
nothing really happens. Yeah.
It's picked up by the leasing company. Basically, the leasing company's paying the money back out of it, so the customer doesn't.
Are you saying the leasing company makes?
In other words, the last 3 payments, they waive the last 3 payments
Right.
for them, leasing company's still liable for that.
In the back.
Very simply, this reduced tax, is it paid upfront, or is it like the state of Missouri where it's paid on the payment?
It would still be paid up front.
Thank you.
The only thing at the end would be if there are, excess wear and tear, excess
Right,
mileage,
but
and extra
still
would be paid at the end.
Paid
But
on the front of the lease, it's just a reduced tax now, that's the big.
right.
Correct.
So it's-
One of the manufacturers, Captain Finance companies, held some seminars several months ago